It looks like we're here. Wonderful. Alrighty, so welcome all. I'm glad you made it into our performance space. Once again, I would like to remind you to go into gallery view, not speaker view, gallery view. Make sure that your microphone is muted, that your video is off, that you can see the chat to interact with everyone. And from there, I will have Noelia Antweiler join me. Or Berkes, Noelia Berkes. That was a flash from the past. Oh my goodness.
Noelia Antweiler, whatever, same person. Okay, well, hello to everyone out there, or in here, I guess. It's different this time. And welcome to Relative Theatrics Reading Greek Tragedy Online. Tonight's reading, as I'm sure you know, is Hippolytus by Euripides. And as Anne just said, my name is Noelia Antweiler Berkes, and I am the Director of Virtual Programming.
Noelia, you're gonna have to stick with me for a second. My little speech just disappeared. Okay, here we are. Wonderful. So once again, thank you all for joining us, for keeping your videos off, your microphones muted during the reading. In the meantime, we do encourage you to utilize that chat box to share your viewing responses like we practiced in the main Zoom room, our virtual house, if you will. At this time, I also like to remind you once again to switch your viewing to gallery view if you have not already done so, and to make sure that you've hidden non-video participants in your settings. If you already did that in the main room, then you're all set to go. You don't need to do it again.
Tonight's reading is being presented in conjunction with the Center for Hellenic Studies, the Cosmos Society, and Out of Chaos Theater. Following the reading, there will be a discussion with the cast, crew, and community led by Dr. Laura de Lozier. The performance you are about to see will also be available on the Relative Theatrics YouTube page starting tomorrow. Unlike previous readings, the discussion portion will not be recorded or live streamed. We will be hosting it via Zoom only, so feel free to turn on your videos and contribute to the conversation at that time. We will tell you when. We would love to connect with you on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter. You can also sign up for our mailing list to find out about future programming from Relative Theatrics, like our patron town hall happening this Sunday at 4 p.m. Mountain Time via Zoom, or our upcoming hybrid theater film production of And the Wind Howls, coming to you September 4th through September 13th.
If you are appreciating the virtual programming from Relative Theatrics, please consider showing your support by making a contribution to our annual fundraising campaign, which is going on right now. We're halfway through our month-long campaign, and we still have about $5,500 to raise in order to reach our ambitious goal of $15,000. You can learn more about that or make a contribution at www.relativetheatrics.com/annual-campaign. No gift is too small, and every penny enriches our ability to bring you risky, relevant, real theater.
Finally, I would like to acknowledge the Wyoming Arts Council, the National Endowment for the Arts, the Wyoming Humanities Council, and the National Endowment for Humanities for their grant funding. Thank you so much, and enjoy the show. Hippolytus by Euripides. Our cast of characters include Aphrodite, goddess of love. Hippolytus, bastard son of Theseus. Servant, an elderly attendant on Hippolytus. Nurse, servant of Phaedra. Phaedra, wife of Theseus. Theseus, exiled king of Athens. Messenger, an attendant on Hippolytus. Artemis, virgin goddess of the hunt. And chorus, young married women of treason. The play is set in front of the royal palace in Treason. There are large double doors in the center of the wall of the palace, and statues of Aphrodite and Artemis are on either side, each with an altar in front of it.
I am a powerful goddess, celebrated in heaven and among all mortal men who call me Aphrodite. Of all people who gaze upon the sunlight and inhabit regions between the pillars of Atlas and the Euxine Sea, I look with favor on those who give my power due respect. But I strike down all those who, stuffed with pride, disparage me. For the family of gods shares this attribute. They get great delight from those honors human beings bestow. That this is true, I will soon demonstrate. For Theseus and Hippolyta, an Amazon, had a son, Hippolytus. And this lad, a student trained by pious Pythias, is the only person here in treason who claims that I, of all divinities, by nature am the most despicable. He refuses to have women in his bed, turns his back on any thought of marriage, and worships Zeus's daughter, Artemis, Apollo's sister, believing her to be the greatest god of all. He spends his time in green forests, always in the company of that virgin goddess, scouring the land for wild creatures with his swift hunting dogs. The two enjoy a close relationship, too close for any mortal with a god. I bear him no ill will for that. Why should I? But since Hippolytus has slighted me, today I will avenge myself on him. Most of my scheme is in place already. What I have left to do will not be hard. For Hippolytus went some time ago from Pythias' home to Pandion's land, to see and celebrate the secret rites of sacred Demeter. His father's wife, the well-born Lady Phaedra, saw him there, and, thanks to what I had arranged, felt her heart gripped by fierce desire. Before moving here to Treason Land, she had a temple built in Athens, near Pallas Athena's rock, a shrine to Aphrodite. It faced Treason to mark her passion for her absent love, and afterwards she let the people know she had raised this temple to the goddess in honor of Hippolytus. But now, Theseus has left the land of Cecrops and has agreed to live for 1 whole year in exile from his people, to escape blood guilt for killing the sons of Pallas. He and his wife have now sailed to Treason, where she, poor woman, groans in agony, driven out of her wits by stings of love and dying in silence. None of her servants knows of her disease, but this passion of hers must not end like this. I will tell Theseus about her love, and all will be revealed. Then that young man who is my enemy will be killed by his own father, Theseus, with one of those wishes he was given, a gift from Poseidon, lord of the sea. The god once said if Theseus prayed to him, then his prayers would be fulfilled 3 times. As for Phaedra, she is a noble queen, but nonetheless she dies. Her misfortunes do not matter all that much, not enough for me to avenge myself on enemies in ways that do not satisfy my heart. But I see Hippolytus on his way here, returning from all that hard work hunting. I will leave this place, for he is coming with a huge throng of servants at his heels, making a great din, as they howl their hymns in honor of the goddess Artemis. He does not realize that Hades' gates are opening for him, and this day's light is the last light of day you will ever see.
Follow me! Come, follow me, and sing of heavenly Artemis, great Zeus's child and our protector.
Hail, Reverend Lady, Sacred Queen, hail to the holiest child of Zeus, daughter born to him from Leto, and fairest virgin of them all, inhabiting the spacious heavens in your illustrious father's home, the palace of Zeus, made of gold. O beautiful one, we welcome you, the loveliest god in all Olympus.
Oh, sovereign goddess, To you I bring this garland made of woven flowers, gathered in unspoiled meadowlands where shepherds dare not graze their flocks and harvest sickles are still unknown. In spring, bees fly through pristine fields, and modest reverence feeds the land with purest streams of river dew. These flowers the virtuous may pick, the ones who keep a constant rein on their desires in all they do, whose virtue comes from who they are and not from what they have been taught. But those who are not pure may not do so.
Hippolytus moves to the statue of Artemis to offer her a flowery wreath.
Dear mistress, accept from my chaste hand this flowery wreath for your golden hair. Of mortal men, I am the only one who has the privilege of spending time alone with you. We converse together, and though I never gaze upon your face, I can hear your voice. I pray my life will end like this, just as it has begun.
My lord, I do not call you master, since that title is reserved for gods alone. Would you listen if I offered good advice?
Of course. Otherwise I would look foolish.
You know the rule men are supposed to follow.
No, I do not. What rule is it you mean?
The one that says we ought to hate being proud and failing to treat everyone politely.
And rightly so. What man swollen with pride is not annoying?
Is there not some charm in being courteous?
Indeed there is. A great deal of charm, and benefits too, earned without much effort.
And so, do you think the same holds true among the gods?
I do, if mortals live by laws from gods above.
Why then there is a famous goddess you never call by name.
Which one is that? Take care. Using a god's name may show disrespect.
This one here, standing right beside your doors, Aphrodite.
I practice chastity, and so I greet that goddess from a distance.
But men revere her and celebrate her fame.
I am not fond of gods worshipped at night.
My son, one must pay tribute to the gods.
But with both gods and men, different people have different preferences.
I wish you luck and all the prudent judgment you may need.
You attendants, leave now. Go in the house and prepare our meal. After a day's hunt, a table full of food is a great treat. And make sure you rub down my horses too. When I have eaten my fill, I'll yoke them to my chariot and exercise them well. As for that goddess of yours, Aphrodite, I'll bid her a fond farewell.
When young men think as he does, we must not do the same. And so, great Aphrodite, as I pray at this statue in your honor, I will use language that befits a slave. If being young makes a man's heart impetuous and proud, and he says foolish things, you should forgive him and act as if you have not heard, for gods must show more wisdom than we mortal men.
There is a place where water from the stream of Oceanus, so people say, seeps from the rock and falls from a projecting ledge. Here, people fill their water jugs, and here I met a friend of mine, rinsing bright garments in the stream and spreading them in the warm sun along the surface of the rock. There, for the first time, I heard news about my queen, my mistress. She is ill, resting in a sickbed, staying indoors with her fair head wrapped in finely woven veils. I hear that for the past 3 days her mouth has taken in no food, for she has kept her body pure, refusing Demeter's gifts of grain. She harbors a secret agony and wants to die, to drive her life to some disastrous final end. Oh, girl, has some god possessed you? Is your mind now madly roaming because of Hecate or Pan, or the ancient Corybantes, or Cybele, our mountain mother? Are you being punished for some fault by Dictina, goddess of wild beasts, or some impiety? Did you fail to offer her the sacred cakes? For she can travel through the sea and move across dry land that rises from the eddies in the salty deep. Or is your man the cause of this, the noble king of the Athenians? Is some woman in the palace having sex with him in secret in a bed other than your own? Or in our port that welcomes sailors, has some man from Crete arrived bearing messages for the queen, and now she must remain in bed, her heart weighed down with sorrows and sufferings for family friends? But women's nature tends to show a lack of balance. In childbirth, a sense of wretched helplessness combined with utter folly. Those feelings pierce my womb as well. But I call out to Artemis, guardian goddess of the bow, who eases all our labor pains. She never fails to visit me, gods be thanked, and is most welcome. But there's the old nurse at the front gate, bringing Phaedra outside the palace walls. The cloud of worry in her eyes has grown. My heart longs to know why the queen is ill, why her body is so pale and wasted.
Oh, the troubles we mortals undergo, the wretched illnesses! What shall I do to make you comfortable? What do I not do? Here you are in the fresh air and sunlight. Your sick bed has been moved outside the house, for coming here was all you talked about, but soon enough, you'll be hurrying back to your own rooms again. You'll be convinced you were mistaken. Nothing pleases you. You get no joy from what is here at hand, and find what is not here more pleasurable. It's better to be sick than nurse the sick. The first is plain and simple suffering. The second mixes sorrow in the heart with hard work for the hands. But with mortals, all life is pain, and struggles never end. Whatever we might yearn for more than life is surrounded by dark clouds and hidden, and we seem lovesick for whatever glitters here on earth because we have no knowledge of another way of life. What goes on between the earth is not revealed to us, and we are vainly swept along by fables.
Lift up my body and straighten my head. Oh, all my limbs feel weak and sore. You, servants, help support my hands and these shapely arms. This headdress is too heavy for my head. Take it from me and let my hair spread out across my shoulders.
Cheer up, my child. Stop making such an effort to move around. This illness will be easier to bear with composure and a noble frame of mind. The pain is something mortals must endure.
Alas, how I wish I could take a drink of pure fresh water from a dew-fed spring and lie down, relaxing under poplar trees in the long grass of an uncut meadow.
My child, what are you going on about? You should not keep chattering on like this in front of such a crowd, blurting out words that make you sound quite mad.
Take me away, up on the mountain. I'll run in the woods to the stands of pine where deer-killing hounds chase down the dappled hind. Oh, by the gods, how I long to urge on the dogs and hurl a Thessalian spear, to hold in my hand that pointed shaft next to my golden hair.
But why? My child, do you want such things? Why so desperate to go out hunting? Why this desire of yours for mountain springs? There is fresh water here beside our walls, a steady stream of it going down the hill. You can drink there any time you please.
Oh, Artemis, queen of Limne near the sea, the training ground for thundering horses, I wish I were there at your racing school, breaking in those young Enetian horses.
Why are you babbling words like this again? You must be disturbed. At one point you're keen to set off for the mountain and the hunt. That's what you long for. And then you yearn for horses on sand, untouched by any wave. This business calls for expert prophecy, my child, to explain to us which deity has muddled your wits and driven you mad.
I am so miserable. What have I done? Why has my mind lost all its common sense? I was insane, struck down with delusions from some god. Alas, I am so wretched. Oh, nurse, please, cover up my head again. I am ashamed of what I have just said. Cover me. My eyes are streaming tears and my face betrays my shame. To be sane is agony, to be mad a dreadful state. Better to die not knowing anything, quite ignorant of one's own misery.
I'll cover you up. But when will death come to cover up my body? A long life has taught me a great deal. Human beings should pledge affection for one another, not to very marry of their souls, but with moderation. Bonds of friendship, linking hearts, should be easy to untie, easy to cast off or tighten. If one heart bears the pain of two, as I do with her, that's a heavy burden. People do say too much attention to one's way of life leads to disaster rather than true joy, and is a way of ruining one's health. And so my preference is for self-control and not excess. Wise men agree with me.
Old nurse, faithful servant of Queen Phaedra, we can see that her condition is not good. But what her sickness is, we do not know. We'd like to ask you and hear your answer.
I've no idea. Though I've questioned her, she is not willing to say.
Not even how these troubling symptoms first began?
My answer is the same. She says nothing. About all this, she will not speak a word.
How weak she is. Her body looks so worn.
No wonder she hasn't eaten for 3 days.
Is she disturbed or trying to kill herself?
To kill herself? Well, that's how it will end if she keeps refusing food.
What you say is quite astonishing if her husband approves of what she's doing.
She hides it and says she is not sick.
How can he guess by looking at her face?
How can he? He happens to be away from treason.
Why not try compelling her to tell you why she is so ill? Why her mind wanders?
I've tried all sorts of things without success. But I won't give up my efforts even now, so you people here with me can witness how I have been acting with my mistress in her distress. But come now, my dear child, let's both forget what we just talked about. You must be more sociable, smooth that frown, and change your attitude. And as for me, in the past, I have not followed what you said with enough sympathy. Well, I'll stop that and find a different and a better way. If you are sick with one of those illnesses we do not talk about, these women here can help you cope with that condition. But if what's wrong may be discussed with men, then speak up so we can talk about it with physicians. Why are you still silent? You should not remain so quiet, my child. But if I've said something wrong, correct me, or else accept the good advice I offer. Say something! Look at me! I feel wretched. Ladies, the work we're doing here is useless. We're no better off than we were before. Our words did not calm her down earlier, and now she is not listening to us. In this matter, you can be more stubborn than the sea, but you should understand this. If you die, you will have betrayed your sons, who will have no share in their father's goods. I swear by that horse-riding Amazon queen who gave birth to a man who will rule your sons, born a bastard, but with royal ambitions. You know him well, Hippolytus.
Oh, no.
Does that upset you?
Nurse, you are destroying me. By the gods, I beg you to say nothing about that man. Don't mention him again.
You see, your mind is fine. But even so, though your thoughts are clear, you are not willing to help out your own sons and save your life.
I love my children. A different problem is causing me distress.
My child, your hands are, I assume, not stained with someone's blood.
My hands are pure, but my heart has been polluted.
Surely someone who is your enemy has not cast a spell on you.
No, a friend has been my downfall, though neither of us wants that to happen.
What about Theseus? Has he committed some wrong against you?
May no one find that I have ever harmed him.
What is this terrible thing that makes you want to die?
Let me make my own mistakes. I am not harming you.
No, not willingly, but if you perish, it will be my fault.
What are you doing? You are too violent, clutching my hand like that.
And your knees, too, I will not let go.
You wretched woman! If you learn the truth, you will face disaster.
What could be worse for me than losing you?
You will be destroyed. However, for me, the affair brings honor.
If it is noble, why refuse to tell me when I ask you?
I am striving to turn a great disgrace into something fine.
If you reveal it, will not your honor be even greater?
For the sake of the gods, release my hands and leave.
No, not. You have not yet given me the gift I am entitled to receive.
I will. For I respect your suppliant hand.
Then I'll remain silent. From this point on, it is up to you to speak.
Oh, my poor mother, what passion you felt.
The way she loved that bull. Is that what you were talking about, my child?
And you, too, my unfortunate sister, bride of Dionysus.
Oh, what's wrong with you? Why abuse your family in this way?
I am the third, and now I am dying in such misery.
This amazes me. The things you're saying, what are you getting at?
What's happening is an old misfortune. This trouble is not new.
That tells me nothing. I have still not heard what I need to know.
Alas, how I wish you could be the one to say the things I have to tell you.
I'm no prophet able to see clearly what lies hidden from sight.
What do people mean when they use the expression being in love?
Something very pleasurable, my child. But at the same time painful.
I would say what I have is that second feeling. Pain.
What are you talking about, my child? You mean you are in love? Who is the man?
I'm not sure what he calls himself. The son of that Amazon.
You mean Hippolytus?
You spoke the name. You did not hear me say it.
No, my child, what have you just said? You have destroyed me. I cannot bear it. Ladies, I cannot stand living like this. I hate the day. I hate the light I see. I'll throw myself down and die, rid myself of this body of mine, bid life goodbye. And so farewell. I am alive no more, for virtuous people now love what is bad. They do not wish to do that, but they do. So Aphrodite then is no mere goddess, but something greater, if such beings exist. For she has utterly ruined Phaedra as well as me and this whole royal house.
Have you been listening to the queen? Did you hear her crying her sorrow at miseries no one should hear? Oh, my dear lady, may I perish before I ever feel as you do. Oh, me. Alas, alas, how sad this suffering. All these troubles that keep humans in their grip. You are ruined. You have dragged your evil thoughts up into the light. What is it now that waits for you through all the hours of this long day? A change is coming to this house. Oh, you unhappy child of Crete. A new misfortune. And no longer is there any doubt about the way this fate from Aphrodite ends.
Women of treason, you who inhabit the outer borders of the land of Pelops, at other times before this moment, during long hours late into the night, I have often thought about the reasons human lives suffer ruin and collapse, and it seems to me what makes men go wrong is not at all the nature of their minds, for many of them think sensibly enough. No, I think we need to look at it like this. We know and understand how to be good, but will not act that way in our own lives. Some of us because we are too lazy, and some because we like other pleasures more than virtuous acts. And this life of ours has many pleasures, like idle gossip, a delightful fault. And there are others held back by a sense of shame and honor. This has two forms. The first one does no harm, but the second can load a house with grief. If we could distinguish these two clearly, we would refer to them with different names rather than use a single word for both. These are beliefs I happen to have reached earlier in life, and no magic potion could force me to change my mind about them or seduce me into thinking otherwise. So I will tell you how my thinking went. When love gave me these wounds, I considered how I might best react to what had happened. And so, to start with, I concealed the pain. I did not speak a word to anyone, for the tongue is something we should not trust. It knows how to criticize thoughts of others, but given free rein, the words it utters can lead to serious trouble. Then I thought I would bear this madness honorably by overpowering it with self-control. Finally, when these methods did not help, and I could not master Aphrodite, I resolved to die. No one will deny that option was the best I could devise. I did not want my honorable acts to remain concealed, or my shameful ones to be witnessed by the world. For I knew what I lusted for and the lust itself were both disgraceful. I also realized I was a woman, and thus demeaned by all. May that woman be cursed who was the first to stain her marriage bed with other men. This evil practice had its origin with women of the nobler families, and when shameful things become acceptable to citizens we consider worthy, then common folk will think such acts are fine. I also despise those women whose words preach virtuous conduct, but who, in secret, disgrace themselves with bold and shameless sex. Oh, holy sea-born goddess Aphrodite, how can they look their husbands in the face? How can wives like that not fear the darkness, their accomplice in the act, or the roof beams, which might at some point find a voice and talk? My friends, this is the reason I am dying. To make sure no one will ever blame me, saying I brought shame upon my husband and the sons I bore. I want them to live in glorious Athens as free citizens, free to speak their minds and to live well, and as far as their mother is concerned, enjoying an honorable reputation. For even if a man has a daring heart, he becomes a slave once he is aware his father or his mother has committed evil acts. Only one thing, so people say, competes in value with a human life. That is to have a just and honest heart. Those who act in evil ways are found out sooner or later by time, who holds a mirror up before them as if to a young girl. I pray I'm never seen as one of them.
Yes, that's true. Virtue is self-control. How admirable that is in every way. What a fine reputation it enjoys among all human beings.
My lady, those misfortunes you spoke about just now for a moment made me dreadfully afraid. But now I see I was being foolish. Somehow or other, among mortal beings, our second reactions are more sensible. There's nothing strange or inexplicable about the illness you've been suffering. Aphrodite's rage has fallen on you. You are in love. Why is that amazing? Many other people are in that way too. Are you going to end your life for love? People in love now and in the future have little to gain if they must die for it. When Aphrodite flows through us with force, no one can resist. Those who yield to her she pursues with tenderness, but others, those she finds much too proud and arrogant, she seizes and humiliates in ways you cannot comprehend. Aphrodite rides the upper air and lives in ocean waves. Each living thing derives its life from her, for she is the one who instills desire, from which all of us on earth arise. The people who own ancient manuscripts from poets long ago and who themselves are always interested in poetry know that Zeus once lusted after Semele and had sex with her in bed. They also know that lovely, shining Dawn once abducted Cephalus and took him up to heaven because she was in love. But nonetheless, these two deities still live in heaven. They have not banished themselves and run off from the company of gods. Their bad luck defeated them, and they accepted it. Is acting the way they did beyond you? If you will not accept life's basic rules, then your father, when he conceived you, should have prearranged set terms with the gods or found a different group of deities to be your masters. How many husbands, men of good sense, do you suppose there are who know their wives are being unfaithful and who pretend they do not see a thing? How many fathers help their willful sons get what they desire from Aphrodite? We mortals should attend to this wise rule. What is immoral should remain concealed. And what is more, I say we human beings should never try so hard to make our lives too perfect, any more than we should strive to make the roof beams covering our homes with great precision and nice to look at. You've fallen into a huge sea of trouble. How can you think you'll swim back to the shore? No. If the good things in the life you've had outweigh the bad, then by human standards, you have been very fortunate indeed. And so, my dear child, you must give up this foolhardy thinking and curb your pride. That pride and nothing else creates in you your desire to be mightier than gods. So be brave and have the courage to love. A god has willed this. If it makes you sick, find a good cure to overcome your pain. There are magical chants and soothing words, and we'll find other ways to treat what's wrong. Since men would take too long to find a cure, we women have to use our own resources.
Phaedra, given what is happening with you, what she has said is more expedient, but I commend you. Still, my words of praise may be more difficult for you to hear than what she has said, and more distressful.
This is the very thing that undermines well-governed cities and our human homes. Words that strike one as far too plausible. You should not talk just to delight my ear, but to inform me how I keep my honor.
Why so high and mighty? You do not need noble-sounding speeches. You need a man. We need to talk simply and directly and state clearly what is happening to you. If your life were not in such great turmoil and you were a woman in firm control of her sexual feelings, I would never be encouraging you to take this path merely for the sake of lustful pleasure. But right now we face a major challenge, saving your life. And no one can object to the course that I propose.
What you say is disgusting. Will you not keep your mouth shut? Do not even mention such vile things again.
They may be vile, but they're more use to you than noble sentiments. Better to have sex, if that will save your life, than to take pride in a mere word and die.
By the gods, no more. You speak well, but what you say is shameful. Not one word more. My heart, like a plowed field, has been fully prepared by my desire. And if you keep speaking so persuasively about dishonorable acts, I will give in to what I am now striving to escape.
All right, as you wish. You should not be in love, but if you are, the next best thing to do is to please me by doing what I say. I've just remembered that inside the house I have a potion that will treat your love. A magic remedy to end your sickness with no dishonor or damage to your mind, provided you do not lose heart. We'll need to get some token from the man you love, a piece of clothing or a lock of hair, and from these two prepare a single charm.
Is this drug an ointment or a potion?
I don't know. My child, you should be thinking of the benefits it brings, not what it is.
I'm uneasy. As far as I'm concerned, you may be too clever.
But you're afraid of everything. What do you dread now?
That you will mention something about me to Theseus's son.
Leave it to me, my child. I'll organize things properly. I only pray that you, Aphrodite, Lady of the Sea, work with me in this. I need to sort out other things as well. For that, a chat with friends inside should do.
Oh, Eros, God of love, who distills desire down into our eyes and brings such pleasure to our hearts of those you seek to overcome. May you never show yourself to me and leave me maimed, or ever come without a sense of ordered harmony. For arrows of fire or from the stars are not more powerful than those from Aphrodite, hurled down onto us from the hands of Eros, child of Zeus. It is vain foolishness for Greeks to multiply their offerings of bulls besides the banks of Alphas or at Apollo's Pythian shrine. If we neglect to worship Eros, the tyrant lord of humankind and the custodian of the keys to Aphrodite's chamber of delight, the god who, when he visits mortals, brings misfortune and pushes them to every manner of disaster. Young Iole from Oechalia, an unwed filly, as yet unyoked by wedding vows to any man, was seized by Aphrodite, taken away from Eurydice, harnessed like a fleeing naiad or bacchant, racing in the hills, and handed to Alcmene's son, amid the carnage and the smoke of a blood-soaked wedding day. Poor girl, in such a wretched marriage. O sacred citadel of Thebes, and you, O source of Dirce's stream, you both could well corroborate what happens when Aphrodite comes. For she made Semele the bride of the fiery thunderbolt, the girl who gave birth to twice-born Bacchus, and sealed her fate in a bed of blood. She hovers above, darting like a bee, breathing terror everywhere she goes.
Shh! You women be quiet. It's all over now.
What is it, Phaedra? What's going on in there that makes you so afraid?
Stay still. I want to hear what they're saying in there.
You won't make a sound, but what you say sounds ominous.
Oh no. I'm done for. The pain is unbearable.
What is it? Why are you shouting? My lady, tell us what they are saying that drowns your heart and terrifies you so.
I am ruined. Come and stand beside the door and listen to the uproar in the palace.
No, you are beside the door. It's up to you to tell us what goes on inside the house. So speak to us. Tell us what's wrong.
It's Hippolytus doing the shouting. Son of that horse-loving Amazon, yelling at my nurse, saying dreadful things.
I hear a voice, but I can't make out the words. Tell me what you're hearing through the door. What is he shouting?
That seems clear enough. He's saying she's been a disgusting pimp who has betrayed her master's marriage bed.
That's disastrous. Oh, my dear Phaedra, you've been found out. How can I help you? Your secret has been revealed. You're ruined. This is appalling. One of your dear friends has let you down.
She has destroyed me by telling someone what is wrong with me, trying as a friend to cure my illness. But what she did was wrong.
What happens now? What will you do? Is there no remedy for what is happening to you?
I know only one. To end my life as quickly as I can. For the calamity I must now face, That is the only cure.
Phaedra remains beside the doors throughout this scene and does not step forward until her next speech.
Oh, Mother Earth, and you sun-filled heavens, what dreadful things, what unspeakable suggestions I have heard!
Quiet, my son, someone may hear you shout.
How can I keep silent after hearing such disgusting things?
Please say nothing, I beg of you, by this strong right arm of yours.
Keep your hands off me. Do not touch my clothes.
By your knees, I beg you, don't ruin me.
What? Did you not claim there was nothing wrong in what you said to me?
What I told you, my boy, was not for everyone to hear.
A fine story becomes even better when it has a wider audience.
My child, do not break that oath you swore to me.
I swore that oath with my tongue, not my heart.
What will you do, my son? Destroy your friends?
My friends? I reject that word. No criminal is any friend of mine.
Forgive them, my boy. To make mistakes is part of being human.
Oh, Zeus. Why did you ever set women in our sunlit world to lead men astray with their corrupting ways? If you wanted to propagate a race of human beings, you should not have done so using women. Instead of that, men could have carried into your holy shrines bronze or iron or a load of gold and purchased offspring, each man paying according to his means, and then they could have lived in their own homes as free men, free of women. But as it is, when we are planning to have this evil live with us, first of all, we must produce a bride price from the wealth of our estate. What's more, there is clear evidence to show just how big a problem women can be, since the father who conceived and raised her pays out a dowry and then ships her off in order to rid himself of trouble. But the man who takes this toxic creature into his home can now get his delight embellishing his idol with ornaments and decorating her with fancy clothes, lovely objects for a brainless figurine. And so the man, poor miserable wretch, little by little wastes his family wealth. The would-be husband has a fatal choice. If his wife comes from a worthy family, he can get some pleasure from his in-laws and let that compensate him for the pain of a marriage bond he finds distasteful. Or else, if his in-laws are malicious and his wife is good, he can use that good to neutralize his sense of discontent. It's easier for the man who marries a stupid wife, even though a woman who's a fool and just sits around the home can be a problem too. But a clever wife is something I detest. In my household, I pray there never is a woman present who knows more than females ought to know. For Aphrodite conjures up more mischief in women with some wit. The stupid ones understand so little they have no idea how to commit even silly indiscretions. What's more, we should not allow a woman to have any slaves attending on her. Instead, we should give them as companions ferocious and inarticulate wild beasts, so they would have no one they could talk to and no one to respond to what they said. As it is, women sit inside the house and, being devious, plan nasty schemes, which their servants then take to those outside. That's what you are doing, you vile creature, coming to suggest to me I violate the sacred marriage bed of my own father. I'll wash my ears out with pure running water to cleanse myself of what you have proposed. How could you think I would be so disloyal when just listening to the words you spoke makes me feel unclean? Understand this well. What keeps you safe, woman, is my piety. If I had not been caught out unawares and tricked into swearing that sacred oath, I would not for one moment hesitate to inform my father what has happened. For now, while Theseus is away from treason, I will leave the house and keep my mouth shut. When he returns, I will come back with him and watch how you two look him in the face, you and your mistress. And because I've seen that both you women have no sense of shame, I'll recognize how you're treating him. A curse on all women! I shall never stop detesting them, not even if someone says I complain about them all the time, for they too never stop, always using any means at all for their immoral acts. A man must either teach these women to be virtuous, or else allow me to continue crushing them forever.
What a wretched, ill-fated destiny we women are given. Once things go wrong, what resources do we have? What can we say that will undo the knot our words have tied? The punishment I now receive is just. Oh, earth! Oh, sunlight! How do I escape what is going on with me? My friends, how will I keep this misery concealed? What god or mortal being might appear to be my helper or to stand with me, defending wrongs I have committed? The state of suffering I now endure is moving on its unforgiving journey past the most distant limits of this life. Of all women, I am the most unfortunate.
Alas, alas, my lady, it is finished. Your servant's plans have failed, and all is lost.
You vile woman, corrupter of your friends, look at the damage you have done to me. I pray that Zeus, the father of my race, utterly destroys you with his thunderbolt. Did I not warn you? Did I not guess your plan and tell you to keep quiet about those things for which I now feel totally disgraced? But you could not resist. So when I die, I will no longer have a noble name. Now I must make new plans. Hippolytus, heart razor sharp with rage, will denounce me to his father for the mistake you made and tell old Pythias of my offense. He'll fill all treason with disgusting stories. So curse you, and curse all those keen to find dishonorable ways to help out friends against their will.
Of course, my lady, you can find fault with me for being wrong, since the sting you feel impairs your reason. But if you'll listen to me, I'll speak up and answer what you said. I raised you, and I am your friend. When I was seeking remedies for your disease, I found a cure, but it was not the one I hoped to find. However, if my therapy had worked, I would have been considered truly wise. For when we are successful, people think it must be due to our intelligence.
You damage me and then admit you're wrong. Does that make it right? Should I be satisfied?
We are wasting time talking about this. I admit that what I did was indiscreet, but there is a way out of this, my child. Even now you can be saved.
No more words. For the advice you gave me earlier was shameful, and what you did was wrong. Get away from me. Be off. Look after your own affairs. I'll put mine in order. But you, nobly born women of treason, grant me one request. Do not talk about what you have heard today. Keep that secret.
By Zeus's daughter, sacred Artemis, we swear never to divulge anything about the troubles you have undergone.
I appreciate those fine words you have said. There is one more thing. I have discovered a way of dealing with this situation, given the way events have now turned out, so I can guarantee both my children a reputable life and benefit myself. I shall never shame my Cretan family, and now that I have been dishonored, I will come no more into the presence of King Theseus simply to preserve one life.
What fatal act do you intend to do?
To die. But how my fatal act will come, that's up to me to choose.
Don't talk like that. Speak only of good things.
You do the same. Make sure you give me only good advice. Today, when I take leave of my own life, I will give great delight to Aphrodite, who has been determined to destroy me. I shall die a victim of cruel passion, but by dying, I shall become a curse to someone else, so that he may learn from my misfortune not to be so proud, for by sharing this affliction with me, he will discover what true virtue means.
Oh, to be in those hidden crannies high in the mountains, where a god might change me to a feathered bird among the flocks on the wing, to soar along the Adriatic shore above the crashing ocean waves, beyond the flowing Eridanus, where those unhappy maidens grieving for the death of Phaeton drop their shimmering amber tears into the blue-black swell, Oh, to reach that apple-planted shore of the singing Hesperides, where the ruler of the purple sea permits no mariners to pass, and sets a holy limit to the sky, which giant Atlas holds in place. Immortal springs flow past the spot where Zeus lay with his wife in love, and abundant gifts of sacred earth enhance the bliss of heavenly gods. Oh, white-winged sailing boat from Crete, that crossed the roaring salt sea waves and brought my lady from her blessed home to a marriage marked for sorrow. All omens prophesied disaster when she sped away from Crete for glorious Athens, and when they tied the twisted ends of mooring ropes on Munich's shore and landed setting her foot on Attic soil. And so a terrible disease, an unholy, passionate desire sent down by Aphrodite broke apart her heart. And now, drowning in her misfortune, around her pale neck she will tie a hanging noose, fixed to the beams in her bridal chamber. And then, filled with shame at her dreadful fate, she will choose instead the glory of her good name and rid her heart of its harsh, erotic yearning.
Shouts are heard within the palace.
Help! Help! All you neighbors, come here and help! The queen, Theseus' wife, is killing herself!
Alas, alas, it's over. The queen is dead. She tied a noose and is hanging there.
Hurry up! Why can't somebody bring here a two-edged sword so we can cut the rope around her neck?
What should we do, my friends? Do you think we should go inside the house and slice the noose that's strangling our queen? Oh, why do that? Aren't there young slaves in there? To meddle in such things puts many lives at risk.
Set her down properly. Straighten out her limbs. This is a bitter way to care for this house in my master's absence.
From what they're saying, the queen is dead. Poor lady. Those inside are already setting out her corpse.
You women, do you happen to know anything about the shouting in the palace? I heard my servants cry out in distress, and this house has not thought it fitting to open up the gates and welcome me with a gracious speech appropriate for someone returning from an oracle. Surely nothing disturbing has happened to old Pythias. He's now quite old, but if he were to die and leave the house, I would find that painful.
Your misfortune does not involve old men. What will grieve you is that death has carried off the young.
Oh no, my children. Have their lives been stolen from me?
No, the young boys are alive, but their mother, and you will find this especially painful, their mother is dead.
What are you saying? My wife is dead. How did she die?
She tied a noose up high and hanged herself.
Was she numbed by grief or some calamity?
That's all we know. We've just reached the palace, Theseus, here to grieve for your misfortune.
This is appalling. Why am I wearing a wreath of woven leaves around my head when on my return home from the oracle I suffer such misfortune? You slaves in there, remove bars on the doors, loosen the bolts so I can see the sad sight of my wife. Her death has overwhelmed me.
The doors are opened, revealing the corpse of Phaedra.
Alas, alas, poor wretched lady, made desperate by your pain. You've suffered and committed acts that will obliterate this house. Alas for what you dared to do. You underwent a brutal death in such a sacrilegious way, crushed by your own poor hand. Unhappy queen, who was the one who plunged your life into darkness?
Alas for me and my unhappiness. Here in this misery I must endure the most severe of all my sufferings. O fate, how savagely you have fallen on my house and me, a polluting stain and punishment I do not understand, imposed by some malevolent power. No more than that, it has ruined my life and made it not worth living. In my grief, I'm gazing over a sea of trouble, so vast that never again can I emerge or escape the waves of this disaster. You poor lady. How do I find the words that can do justice to your pitiful death? Like a bird, you have vanished from my hand and with a swift leap, flown off to Hades. Alas, alas, such sad, sad pain and sorrow. This blow comes from the gods and falls on me for someone's crime committed long ago.
Sorrow has not come to you alone, my lord. You have lost a wife you cherish, but so have so many others.
In my grief, I yearn to die, leave here and live below underneath the earth in gloomy darkness, since I am robbed of your sweet company. You have died, but your death has done much more. It has destroyed me. Oh, lady, what was it? That lethal blow of fate that struck your heart? Where did it come from? Will someone speak up and tell me what went on? If not, what's the use of having here inside my royal home such a throng of personal attendants? Alas, your death has broken my heart. To witness such great sorrow in my house, beyond what we can bear or talk about, I am finished. My home is destitute, my children orphans. You have left us. You have gone, most cherished of all women, beneath the dazzling brilliance of the sun and the star-filled radiance of the night.
I pity you. Such a grief inside your home. My eyes are filled with tears as I weep at your misfortune. But for some time now I have been dreading what is to follow.
But wait. What's that attached to her sweet hand? Is it trying to tell me something new? Has my poor wife written me a message, making an appeal about our marriage and our children? You must not be afraid, unhappy lady. No other woman will ever win possession of the bed and home of Theseus.
Theseus removes the attachment from Phaedra's wrist and begins to untie the threads wrapped around the writing tablet.
Look, the golden seal impressed here by the one who is no more reminds these eyes of mine of her affection. Come, let me unwrap the threads around the seal and find out what this tablet wants to tell me.
He opens the tablet and begins reading what is written on it.
Alas, alas, now the gods bring on some fresh calamity, hard on the heels of this disaster. My life will be unbearable after what has happened here. I sense our family of kings will perish, alas, and be no more. If it is possible, oh, sacred one, do not cast down this royal house. Oh, hear me as I make this plea, for like a prophet, from some source, I feel a premonition of disaster.
Alas, what new catastrophe is this to add to all our pain? This misfortune is unspeakable, more than we can bear. The horror overwhelms me.
What is it? If you can tell me, then speak.
This tablet howls! It shrieks of unimaginable horror. How do I find refuge from the weight of such disaster? For I am finished, utterly destroyed. Such is the song I have heard this written message sing, and I am desperate.
Alas, your words are ominous. They speak of woes to come.
All talk of this degenerate evil is painful, but I will no longer keep it hidden behind the gateway of my lips. All those in the city, listen to me. Hippolytus has dared to force his way into my marriage bed, dishonoring the sacred eye of Zeus. Father Poseidon, you once promised me I had 3 wishes. Take one of these and put my son to death. And if that prayer is something I can count on, then let him not survive beyond today.
In the name of the gods, my lord, I beg you to cancel that request. You will soon learn you've made a bad mistake. Take my advice.
That will not happen. And in addition, I will have him driven out of treason. Then one of 2 fates will overwhelm him. Either Poseidon will respect my wish, kill him, and send him down to Hades' home, or else, once he has been exiled from here, he will become a homeless wanderer and drag out his miserable existence in foreign lands.
Look, your son Hippolytus is here in person and just in time. Set to one side your harsh and angry mood, my lord Theseus. Think of what is best for your own family.
I heard you shout, Father, and came here with all speed. I do not know what it is that made you cry out in grief, but I would like to hear of that from you. What's happened? Father, I see your wife here. She's dead. But that is inconceivable. We parted company just recently. Only moments ago she was alive, gazing at the light. What happened to her? Father, I want to know, to hear from you. You say nothing, but when things go wrong, silence is no use at all. For the heart, eager to hear everything, is greedy even in misfortunes. It's not right, Father, to hide your troubles from your friends and from those of us who are more than friends.
O mortal beings, how often you go wrong and miss the mark completely. Why teach 1,000 skills, discover and invent everything there is, while you do not know the one thing you have never hunted down? How you might train those with no mind at all to think with some intelligence.
The man who could force thoughtless fools to reason well would be a marvelous master of his craft. But Father, this is no time for subtleties. I fear these troubles may have made your speech confused and random.
Well, for mortal men, there ought to be established some sure sign of who their friends are, and some way to know what they are thinking, so we could discern which one is a true friend, which one is not. And each man ought to have 2 choices, 2 voices, the one he happens to have anyway, and another that always speaks the truth, so that when the first voice uttered falsehoods, the one that spoke the truth would contradict it, and none of us would ever be deceived.
Has one of my family been whispering accusations against me in your ear? Has my reputation been discredited when I am innocent of any crime? I find this amazing. What you are saying is astonishing. It makes no sense at all.
Ah, the human heart. To what lengths will it go? Are there any limits to its insolence, its recklessness? If during a man's life it swells up and the coming generation exceeds the one before in villainy, the gods will have to add another world to this earth of ours, somewhere to contain all our evil and immoral offspring. Look at this man here. He was born from me, and yet he has defiled my marriage bed. This dead woman clearly has convicted him of being the most depraved of animals. Look at me, for I have already been polluted by your presence. Look your father in the eye, face to face. Are you the one who associates with gods, someone better than the common sort, a virtuous man, undefiled by evil? You praise yourself, but I do not find those boasts convincing, nor am I so foolish as to think that gods would not know you for who you truly are. So now keep up your boasting. Keep trying to show off with your diet of vegetables, and with Orpheus as Lord and Master, keep performing your mystic rituals in honor of those vacuous writings, for your hypocrisy has been exposed. To all of you, I issue this advice. Beware of men like this. They hunt you down with pious words, while what they plan is shameful. She is dead. Do you think that fact will save you? More than anything, it demonstrates your guilt. You most despicable of men. What oaths or arguments would be more persuasive than this woman and prove your innocence? Will you maintain that she detested you, that bastards are the natural enemies of those born in legitimate wedlock? Then you'd be claiming she made a poor trade for her life, if, just because she disliked you, she threw away the things she loved the most. Or will you say such promiscuity is innate in women, but not in men? But I am well aware that younger men are no more reliable than women when Aphrodite stirs their youthful hearts, though being male can shield young men from blame. So now, but why do I go on like this? refuting all the things that you might say when this corpse, the clearest evidence of all, is lying here. Get out of treason now. Into exile! Stay away from Athens, city built by gods. Do not move across the borders of a land ruled by my spear. If, given what I have suffered from you, I allow you to prevail against me, then no longer will Isthmian Sinus bear witness to the fact I killed him. Instead, he'll say that was an idle boast, and Scironian rocks beside the sea will say, I am no scourge of evil men.
Now that the finest lives are overturned, I do not know how I could ever say that any mortal beings are fortunate.
The anger and strong feelings in your heart are dreadful, Father. But in this matter, though your arguments sound quite plausible, if one looks into the issues closely, your case against me does not match the facts. I have no skill in talking to a crowd. With a small group of people my own age, I'm more eloquent. That's as it should be, since those men whom the wise consider fools are often better speaking to a mob. But now, in the face of this calamity, I must loosen my tongue. To begin with, I will speak to your first accusation, which you assumed would overpower me and leave me incapable of a response. The sunlight and earth you see around us do not hold a man more virtuous than me, no matter how much you deny the fact. First, I know how to reverence the gods and cultivate good friends who do not try to be unjust. Men who would be ashamed to make perverse requests of their companions or respond to them with vicious favors. I do not mock those I spend my time with, Father, and I always treat my friends the same, whether they are with me at the time or not. As far as concerns the act for which you think you have now proved my guilt, that is one thing of which I am completely innocent. Up to the present, this body of mine has had no experience of sexual love. About that, I know nothing, apart from what I've heard or pictures I have seen, which I had no eagerness to look at, since my mind is pure. You may not believe I practice chastity, and if that's true, you ought to show how I became corrupt. Was Phaedra more physically beautiful than other women? Or was it my hope to carry off to bed your royal heir and thus become the master of your house? If so, I was a fool. No, out of my wits. Do you think that those with virtuous hearts find the royal throne a sweet temptation? Not in the least, since the power of kings corrupts the minds of those who seek it out. As for me, I would like to win first prize at the Grecian Games and hold second place here in the city, with secure good fortune and the finest men as friends. In that way, one has the freedom to be successful, and the fact that one is not in danger makes life more delightful than being king. You have heard everything I have to say, but for one point, if I had a witness to testify to the kind of man I am, and if I were making this argument with Phaedra still alive, you would find out by looking at the facts who was at fault. But as it is, I swear to you, by Zeus, god of oaths, and by this firm set earth, I never laid a hand upon your wife. I never could have entertained that wish or harbored such a thought. Let me perish ignominiously without a name, without a city or a home, a vagrant wandering over the earth in exile, if I am guilty. May the sea and earth refuse to receive my lifeless body. What fear it was made Phaedra kill herself, I do not know. And it is not right for me to speak any further about her death. She lacked virtue, but acted virtuously, whereas I, who had virtue, used it poorly.
You have said enough to refute the charge. That oath you swore when you invoked the gods is no small reassurance.
This man here, is he not a trickster, a magician? He believes that after disgracing me, his own father, his smooth temperament will overrule my heart.
I too am surprised, Father, at your conduct in this matter. If you were my son and I your father, and you had dared to lay hands on my wife, I would not punish you with banishment. I would have you killed.
How typical of you to say such things. You will not die like that, not according to some law you have established for yourself. A quick death is much easier for a miserable wretch, but wandering in foreign countries, exiled from your home, you will drag out your life in bitterness, retribution for a sacrilegious man.
What? You've already decided what to do? Will you not wait to see what time reveals about how I behaved? Instead of that, you're going to banish me from here today.
Yes, to somewhere beyond the Euxine Sea or the lands of Atlas. If I could do it, that's how strongly I despise you.
Will you not examine the evidence? The oath I made, my sworn testimony, what the seers report. You'll banish me without a trial?
This writing tablet is not some diviner's cryptic riddle. The charge it makes against you I can trust as prophetic birds flying overhead. To them I bid a long and firm farewell.
Oh, you gods! Why then do I not speak out when you, whom I revere, are ruining me? But no, it would be impossible for me to win over the ones I must convince, and so violating the oath I swore would be quite futile.
This is too much. Your sanctimoniousness will be the end of me. Go away. Leave your native land at once.
To whom do I turn in such a wretched state? If I become an exile with this charge, what friend will ever let me in his house?
One who likes entertaining as his guests, men who defile women and stay at home planning adultery with his wife.
That hurts. It wounds my heart and almost makes me weep that men should consider me dishonest, and you would think so too.
You should have cried and thought things over back when you resolved to violate your father's wife.
Oh, this house. Would that its voice could speak on my behalf and testify whether I am guilty.
You seek help from a witness who cannot speak. That's clever of you. But the voiceless facts have shown your immorality.
Alas. Oh, how I wish I could stand to one side and observe myself, so that I could weep at the disaster overwhelming me.
You spend so much more time worshiping yourself than acting justly or treating parents with reverent respect.
Oh, my poor mother, my painful birth. I pray no friend of mine ever has to live life as a bastard.
You slaves, why are you not dragging him away? Did you not hear me say some time ago that he is banished?
Any one of them will regret it if he lays a hand on me. If you want me forcibly thrown out, then you're the one who should be doing it.
I will, if you do not obey my orders. Your going into exile does not arouse the slightest hint of sympathy in me.
Then it seems it's over. Alas for me. I know what happened, but I do not know how I can reveal the facts. Oh, Artemis, Leto's child, the deity I love the most. I've spent time with you as your companion and in the hunt, but now I am exiled from glorious Athens. And so farewell to that land, city of Euripides. Farewell to you too, O plain of treason. How many happy blessings you provide to men when they are young. I call your name as I look out at you for the last time. Come, my youthful companions from treason, bid me farewell and lead me from this land. I am the most upright man you'll ever see, even though my father does not think so.
The great concern gods have for mortal men, when I think of it, relieves my sorrow, and deep inside I hang on to the hope that I will understand. But when I see the actions and the fates of human beings, I fail completely. For from all directions, one thing after another is transformed, and human life is never constant, but always wavering to and fro. How I wish, in answer to my prayers, my God-given destiny would provide a life of worldly happiness, a heart untouched by pain. I wish my judgment were not stubborn or debased and false, Would my nature could easily adapt to what tomorrow brings, and I could share throughout my life in its good fortune. For my mind no longer finds any peace. The hopes I entertained have been denied by what I see. For we have witnessed here the most splendid star of Greek Athena, and seen his father's rage send him away, out into a foreign land, an exile. Oh, sands on the shoreline of our city. Oh, mountain woods where he would hunt with his swift-footed hounds and slay wild beasts, accompanied by holy Artemis. No longer will you climb behind your team of yoked Enetian steeds by Lemon's shore and guide their racing hooves around the track. And in your father's home, the music from the frame of your stringed instrument, a song that never slept, will sound no more. There will be no garlands in those places where Leto's daughter rests, and in the deep grass. And now you have become an exile. The rivalries among unmarried girls to be your wedded wife have died away. As for me, faced with your misfortune, I will live out my wretched life in tears. Oh, your poor mother, who gave birth in vain. Alas, the gods have roused my anger. Oh, you linked sisterhood of graces, why do you send this poor unfortunate away from home and his own native land when he is innocent of any crime? Look, I see someone rushing to the palace, one of the men who serves Hippolytus. His face looks grim.
You, women, where do I go to find Lord Theseus, this country's king? If you know, tell me, is he at home?
Here he is. He's coming from the palace.
Theseus, I bring you news, a serious matter for all you and all citizens of Athens and for those that lived in treason.
What is it? Has some urgent crisis just flared up between these neighboring lands?
My news is this. Hippolytus is dead, or as good as dead. He still sees the light, but the scale is poised, ready to move toward death.
Who killed him? Was it some enemy with a grudge? A man whose wife he forcibly seduced the way he did his father's?
He was destroyed by his own chariot, and by those curses your mouth uttered, the ones you called down against your son when you made that prayer to your father, Lord of the Sea.
Oh, you gods. So persuaded. You truly are my father. You heard my prayer. How did he die? Tell me how the club of justice struck him for dishonoring me.
We were near the shore where the surf rolls in, grooming the horses, combing out tangles in their knotted hair. We were in tears, for a messenger had come with news that you had banished Hippolytus. He could no longer set foot in treason. Then Hippolytus joined us on the beach, bringing with him the same tearful report. Behind him came a huge throng of his friends and people his own age. After a while, he stopped grieving and said, "Why should exile fill me with despair? My father's orders must be obeyed. Get my horses ready. You, servants, yoke them to my chariot, for I no longer belong in treason." At that, every man promptly set to work, and faster than one could say the words, we had the harnessed horses standing there right beside our master. He grabbed the reins resting on the chariot rail and set his feet firmly in the straps. Then, raising his palms upward to the gods, he cried, "Oh, Zeus, if I am evil, may I no longer live, but whether I am still alive or dead, let my father learn how he dishonors me." As he said this, his hand picked up the whip, and with one flick urged on his 4-horse team. We servants accompanied our master, running beside the chariot by the bridle, along the roadway leading directly to Argos and to Epidaurus. When we reached that uninhabited tract beyond our borders, there was a headland jutting out into what is, at that point, the Saronic Gulf. There, a massive noise like Zeus's thunder rumbled underground. Just listening to it made us tremble. The horses raised their heads up to the sky, pricking up their ears. We were overcome with a wild fear. Where had that noise come from? As we watched the surf crashing on the shore, we saw a massive and mysterious wave rearing up so high into the heavens, my eyes could not make out the Skiron cliffs. The Isthmus and Asclepius rocks were hidden from our sight. Then, swelling up and seething with huge quantities of foam, blasting the salt sea high into the sky, it moved towards the chariot and horses standing on the shore. As that huge wave broke, the pounding surf disgorged a monstrous bull, a wild and savage wonder. Its bellowing filled the entire land, and the land replied with fearful echoes. We gazed upon that bull, but the sight was more than we could bear. The horses, terrified, immediately panicked. My master, long familiar with the way horses behave, kept a firm grip on the reins and pulled them as a sailor pulls an oar, letting the straps hold him while he leaned back. They sunk their teeth into the fire-forged bits and carried him away by force, ignoring their captain's hands, the reins and harnesses, and the sturdy chariots. Each time he tried to guide them with the reins to softer ground, the bull appeared in front of him and turned the frantic four-horse steaming chariot back. But when, hearts crazed with fear, they charged their heads towards the rocks, the bull stayed by their side, running in silence near the chariot rail until it forced the wheels to strike a rock, crashed the chariot, and rolled it on its side. There was complete confusion. The wheel rims and axle pins flew off high into the air, and poor Hippolytus was dragged along, tangled in the reins, tied up in a knot he could not easily undo. His head kept striking rocks that tore away his flesh, and screaming in a voice dreadful to hear, "Stop! You were raised in my own stables! Do not destroy me! Oh, that dreadful curse my father uttered! Is anyone willing to rescue someone truly virtuous?" Many of us wished to help, but our feet could not keep up and we were left behind. Somehow, I don't know how, he was cut free of the reins entangling him and collapsed, still alive and breathing, but not for long. The horses vanished, as did the monstrous bull, that disastrous omen. I'm not sure where, someplace or other in that rough terrain. My lord, I am one of your household slaves, but I cannot and never will be able to believe your son has acted badly, not even if the entire race of women hanged themselves, or if their written words covered every pine tree on Mount Ida, for I am certain he's a virtuous man.
Alas, this new and ruinous event has run its course, and there is no escape from fate and from a deadly destiny.
Given my hatred for the man who suffered this calamity, I was pleased to hear what you had to report. Still, he is my son, and therefore, out of respect for the gods and him as well, I derive no pleasure from this disaster, and I feel no pain.
What now? Do we bring the poor man here? What else would you like us to do with him? Think carefully. If I might offer some advice, your son is dying. Do not treat him harshly.
Bring him to me here, so I can see him face to face. This man who keeps denying he defiled my bed. What have I to say? And this disaster brought on by the gods will clearly prove that he is guilty.
Oh, Aphrodite, you carry away the stubborn hearts of gods and men, and with your flies, bright feathered arrows, ensnaring them with his swift wings. He flies above the earth and loud salt sea, bewitching and maddening the hearts of all those incited by his golden wings. Whelps of the mountain and of the sea, all those things earth nourishes, and the burning sun looks down upon, and man as well. Over all these, Aphrodite, you alone hold sway and rule with royal authority.
Theseus, nobly born son of Aegeus, I am commanding you to hear me. It is I, Artemis, Leto's daughter, who is addressing you. Why, you poor wretch, do you take such delight in these events? You have killed your son, an impious act, persuaded by the false words of your wife to believe in things no one has witnessed. Now the destruction you have brought about is clear to see. Why are you not ashamed and cowering deep down in Tartarus? Or are you going to change the nature and remove yourself from all this suffering by becoming a bird flying high above? For now, at least, there is no place for you in the life that good men share in common. Hear, Theseus, how your troubles came about. Though telling you brings me no benefits, still I can cause you pain. That's why I've come, to prove that your son's heart was innocent, so he may perish with a noble name, and to explain the wild lust of your wife, or what one might call her noble nature. For she was stung and goaded by the goddess who, for those of us who prize virginity, is the enemy we find most hateful. So she was driven to desire your son. She strove to overpower Aphrodite, using her judgment, but against her will she was defeated by the nurse's scheme. She swore your son to silence, then told him of Phaedra's illness. He acted justly and was not persuaded by what she said, nor did he violate the oath he swore, not even when you were disparaging him. He was a righteous man. Meanwhile, Phaedra, fearing that her conduct might be exposed, wrote a false letter and destroyed your son. Though she was lying, she persuaded you.
No, no!
Does this story pain you, Theseus? Hold your peace. Once you hear what happened next, you may grieve even more. You know Poseidon, your father, gave you 3 prayers, each of which would be fulfilled. You used one of them, you most despicable man, against your son, when it could have served against an enemy. Because the Lord of the Sea, your father, had made a promise, out of his goodwill, he gave you what he was obliged to give. But it is clear to him, and me as well, you have revealed you are a wicked man. You did not wait for any evidence or what prophetic utterance might say, nor did you bother to investigate or let a length of time explore the facts. Instead, you acted with unseemly haste, hurled curses at your son, and killed him.
Oh, goddess, let me die.
You have done dreadful things. But even so, you may still be excused, since Aphrodite willed these things should be, so she could fully satisfy her rage. And among the gods there is this custom. No one seeks to block the will of other gods. Instead, we always stand aside. Know this. I would never have put up with the disgrace of allowing the death of one I love more than all mortal men if I were not afraid of Zeus. You did not know the facts, and that removes the guilt from your mistake. Besides, your wife, by dying, prevented you from testing what she said. Because of that, her words convinced your heart. These disasters fall most of all on you, but I too grieve, for gods do not rejoice when good men die. But evil men we utterly destroy, together with their children and their homes.
Here comes the poor man now. His fair head is bruised, his youthful flesh disfigured. Oh, the misery of this royal house! A double grief from heavens has fallen and has the palace firmly in its grip.
The pain. I'm in so much pain. A victim of that unjust prophecy, unjustly called down by my father. I'm done for, dying in agony. Alas for me. Pain hammering my head. Spasms flashing through my brain. Stop here. I'm so tired. I need to rest my body. How I hate that team of horses. I've fed you animals from my own hands. You have killed me, dragged me to my death. By the gods, you slaves, go gently handling my raw and mutilated flesh. Which one of you is standing on my right? Support me properly. Work together as you hold me up, an ill-fated man cursed by my father's unrighteous act. Oh, Zeus, Zeus, are you witnessing all this? Here I am, a pious, God-fearing man. My virtue towers over other men's, yet I'm clearly on my way to Hades. My life is over, and all my efforts to treat men piously have been in vain. Aye, pain now shooting through me, unbearable pain. I pray that death will come and be my healer. Kill me, finish me. This is such torment. I long for a sword, a two-edged blade, to slice me into pieces and lay my life to rest. That wretched curse my father uttered, some blood-stained evil of family ancestors in years long past, has broken out and can no longer wait. It moves against me. But why? Why me, when I'm innocent of any crime? Alas, alas for me. What do I say? How can I free my life from suffering and end my deep despair? Oh, how I wish the dark necessity of death's black night would lull me in this misery to sleep.
You poor man, yoked to such adversity. It was your heart's nobility that killed you.
A breath of divine perfume. Even here, in my misfortune, I sense your presence, and my body's pain is eased. She's here, in this place. The goddess Artemis.
Yes, she is here, you unfortunate man. Of all the gods, the one you loved the most.
Can you see me, lady, and my wretched state?
I see you, but my eyes can shed no tears. That is forbidden by law.
You will not have your servant and your huntsman any more.
No, but though you die, I will love you still.
No one to tend your horses or your statues?
No. That's what devious Aphrodite wished in planning this whole scheme.
Ah, now I know the god who has destroyed me.
She blamed you for not honoring her and was annoyed you practiced chastity.
A single goddess has killed the three of us. I see that now.
Yes, all three. You, your father, and his wife.
So I lament my father's fate as well.
A god saw to it that he was deceived.
Oh, father, how unhappy you must be at this disaster.
I am finished, my son. There is no joy in life for me.
You made a mistake. For that I pity you more than I do myself.
Oh, my child, would that I could perish in your place.
Oh, those gifts you got from Lord Poseidon, your father's bitter gifts.
I wish that prayer had never come into my mouth.
How so? You were so angry then you would have killed me.
The gods made sure my judgment was deluded.
If only human beings could curse the gods.
Let it go. Even though you will be lying beneath the darkness of the earth, the rage that broke over you, thanks to the designs of goddess Aphrodite, will be avenged. Repayment for your virtue and noble heart. For with my unerring bow and arrows, I will have retribution. With my own hand, I will strike down whichever mortal man she loves the most. On you, ill-fated youth, as recompense for all this suffering, I will confer the very highest honors in the land of treason. Unmarried girls, before being wed, will cut their hair for you, and as long ages pass, you will receive the deep commiseration of their tears. The skillful music of young virgin girls will sing your name to the world forever, and Phaedra's love for you will never fall into oblivion and be forgotten. But you, Theseus, son of old Aegeus, hold your son Hippolytus in your arms. Embrace him. You were not responsible for killing him. When gods will have it so, one can expect that men will make mistakes. And I would counsel you, Hippolytus, not to hate your father. To die like this is your predestined fate. So now, farewell. It is not right for me to see the dead or to pollute mine eyes with the last gasps of those about to die. And I can see you are already close to your sad end.
Then depart, and farewell, sacred maiden. You leave our long companionship so easily. But I will end the quarrel with my father as you requested, for as in earlier days, I will carry out whatever you advise. Darkness is now sealing up my eyes. Hold me, Father. Set my body straight.
Alas, my son, what are you doing to me? I cannot bear this.
My death is close at hand, and I can see the gates of the world below.
Are you leaving me with my hands defiled?
No. I absolve you of this murder.
What are you saying? Are you freeing me from my blood guilt, from your death?
Yes, I am. And as a witness, I call on Artemis, who triumphs with her bow.
My dearest son, how nobly you have acted with your father.
Pray that your true-born sons will do so too.
Alas, for your generous and pious heart.
Farewell to you too, Father. A fond farewell.
Do not leave me now, my boy. Be strong.
My strength is gone, Father. I'm dying. Cover my face with my cloak. And quickly.
He dies. Theseus draws Hippolytus' cloak over his face.
O celebrated Athens, land of Pallas, how you will feel the loss of such a man. And Aphrodite, how often in my grief will I recall the evil you have done.
This distress shared by all citizens alike has come upon us unexpectedly. We will keep weeping many ritual tears. For great men's stories, once they are well known, evoke more grief than the tales of lesser men.
Blackout. End of play. Thank you everyone so much. That is our show. At this time, we will stop the recording. Let me just do that.